So, Munther, when you were writing the book, who are you thinking about and imagining would be the folks that would pick up this book and read it? Who was kind of your imagined audience as you were writing, and why were they on your mind, I guess?
Well, that is definitely not imagined. Uh, and I'm not just saying that I'm talking to a certain people in mind, but actually the book came as a result of numerous conversations, discussions, webinars, and questions I've had and received in the first, I would say, 3 months of the war. October 7th shocked all of us, as you know. And we were just glued to our screens, first about the magnitude of what happened on that day, definitely the tragic loss of innocent lives. But then everything that unfolded immediately, quickly, the quick revenge campaign shocked us, horrified us, and the attack at the church. But the story and the book and my activism came mainly as a result of how Western Christian leaders and theologians defended the war. We couldn't fathom that. We couldn't really understand it. So when you read the book, you will realize its talks, its discussions, its sermons I gave. But really, most of it came from webinars, responding to questions I would receive, or responding to statements that were made by churches or to articles written by theologians. In many cases, a lot of the things I said in the book came first as a discussion or as things we said to church leaders who either talked to us on the phone, on Zoom, or came to Palestine to meet with us. And so everything in the book is a real response to actual positions from church leaders and theologians, even some on the social media. So I'm not imagining, um, uh, the targeted audience. I was mainly talking to people in mind. I have faces, I have names to those people. I have names of the denominations, of the certain search statements. You've read the book and you know too well, I'm not speaking in vague languages. I name names. And as I said in the introduction, I could have written much more than that. So the book is really the result of these conversations, the frustration, the anger we felt from the positions many Christians in the West adopted, the silence of many. So what began as talks and webinars and sermons and videos turned into this book.
Yeah, thank you for that. I appreciate you sort of dispelling that there's not an imagined audience. And you're not even, there are times in the book where you engage with, social media posts and statements from US governmental officials who are invoking the name of God and the Christian tradition to underscore and support wholesale genocide. There are times that you do that, and there are so many other times where you invite us into really conversations that you've had with church leaders, where you invite us into a scene where you've given a public talk or a sermon. And so I think in that way, you really invite us into the work of engaging with the church and engaging church leaders on the question of genocide in Gaza through your own experience.
And what's really sad, in my opinion, is that the theological justification to the war did not stop in the last few months. Actually, if there is a new version of the book, there will be wealth of new material to add. Especially actually in the United States context, the discussions on blessing Israel, that is now part of the Congress's discussion, and I mentioned about that in the book, but what I mean is that it's even more intensified now in terms of positions, theological justification to the assault on Palestinian lives. You would think it had stopped. You would think it was just a period in the beginning of the war, but actually it has not stopped. It definitely, some positions altered, for sure. Some churches who defended the war are now calling it a war of genocide. So let's be clear. But on the other hand, especially within the evangelical camp and other circles, the theological justification of the war has not stopped.
I'm wondering, Munther, if you want to say anything about your own faith or kind of pastoral journey as it relates to this book, because your own story as a pastor, as a Christian and Palestinian is woven throughout. And you note a number of times that you've found yourself quite surprised to be in this position, to be an internationally recognized Palestinian pastor speaking out on genocide. So I'm wondering if you want to talk, is there anything that we should know about your own journey as a pastor and how it relates to how this book came about?
So actually, it's a good thing, because I would say that's the other part of the story of this book, which is, to be honest, my own personal struggle, individually, but also in terms of trying to help my folk, my people. And maybe sometimes that's a good thing, because the things you struggle with, you're able to be closer to the people you pastor in a way, and address their needs. So what I mean is, this war raised many questions, many faith crisis questions to all of us. Does God listen? Why would he allow the killing of children? Does he care? Why is there so much evil in the world, and that we can't stop it? What do you do when you feel powerless? How do you comfort someone who just lost a dear one in a war? They can't even say goodbye. And hearing about the horrific story of how that person was killed. So these are questions I battled with, but at the same time, these are questions I had to provide answers to the people to it. And so the title of the book, Christ in the Rubble, is actually part of a sermon I gave as a pastoral response to the bombing of the church in St. Perphilius in Gaza. And the question that many folks asked, where is God? And said, God is under the rubble in Gaza. He suffers with us. He's in pain with us. He identifies with us in our pain and suffering. In the Gospels, we see Jesus as the victim of the empire of religious extremism. He was killed. And so that concept of Christ in the rubble, it began with a faith struggle, and then with an attempt to respond to those who lost loved ones, and those who questioned the validity of faith. Can faith help us? And that became, in a surprising way, a message to the world. And as I say in the book, maybe everyone knows about or thinks of the work I've done throughout the last 2 years as work of elevating or speaking on behalf of Palestinians, highlighting the plight of the people of Palestine, the Palestinian people, the suffering in Gaza, political advocacy, if you wish. Many said, he's speaking on behalf of all of us, and so on. But to me, it's not just a political advocacy, and that was, in a strange way, an indirect result to first trying to respond pastorally. And one of the most satisfying thing about writing the book, but also about the videos and the sermons and so on, is the number of people I've met throughout my trips, the number of people who reached out on social media that I cannot even number, who said that they were touched, they were comforted, that in a way I brought them closer to God. They cried several times listening to the sermons, or and to me that was, it opened my eyes. I mean, people are looking for the voice of faith. People are looking for someone to bring God near to those who suffer. In fact, just last week, actually, here in Ramallah, I met a woman, a Muslim woman, who said, "I know you from the videos because I watched your sermons several times and I kept crying the whole time." So that kind of response opened my eyes actually to something I've never thought of, which is how much people are looking for God, are searching for the divine, the presence of God, a divine touch, a divine healing touch into their lives. And I'm still in awe of the fact that my sermons, my writings, the small interviews I made touch the hearts of many, in addition to changing the perspective of many as a result of the many interviews, definitely Tucker Carlson's famous interview and so on. None of that is something I've planned. Never thought this is the kind of thing that I will ever do. But, I'm a man of faith, and we just have to make ourselves available to God and be used, and remember that, um, God works in mysterious ways. Having said all of that, I must stress, that I still feel, in a sense, we haven't stopped the war. We haven't accomplished anything. The suffering is still there. The pain is still there. The killing machine is still functioning. Yesterday, we heard the ceasefire. We woke up this morning with more news of people killed in Gaza. So, in a sense, I feel some sort of void, what did I do? Yet, at least I hope we are able to comfort certain people, but at the same time, change the perspectives of others.
Did you like this video? Make sure to subscribe to this YouTube channel and turn on notifications. For exclusive content and to support the work we're doing here at the podcast, go over to patreon.com/across the divide. Your support keeps us going. Thank you, friends.